Welcome to Night Screams Reviews. Today we are looking at the Studio Series 86 Commander Class Hook and Long Haul. And these are really great looking figures. A little bit of controversy surrounding the Commander Class price point for these. We'll get into that later in the final review. But we're starting off in vehicle mode because that's how they come packaged. Looking at Hook. It's got some very simple design, not a lot of sculpted detail in it, but there is some. Obviously, we got Devastator's head sitting right in the middle, but use of negative color makes that not really noticeable unless you're specifically looking for it. Kind of like how the contrasting colors for characters like Blitzwing hide the pieces of the alternate mode from your notice. Wheels are pinned, so he rolls really nicely. The crane arm is fully articulated and can extend only about that far, which that in itself is a little disappointing. I would have liked it to go further, but still, that's not bad. Store his blaster. It's a very tiny peg right there. But there is weapon storage, or you can plug it into one of the 5mm ports. All right. Looking at long haul in vehicle mode with the trailer. Another good looking figure. Not a lot of sculpted detail on him. Trailer's got, it's more like a shipping container back on here. There is some nice sculpted engine detail under the hood. All in all, a good looking figure, and you can detach the hitch. Could have been designed a little bit better. Can easily get knocked out of long hauls, out of being connected to long haul, and in combined mode for Devastator, it just hangs off the back, sticking out like that. That's my biggest complaint about the hitch. Long haul's gun can be stored on side with in a 5mm port. Bring in the other 86 Constructicons to show how they all match up. They look amazing together. They definitely have a cohesive design all together. Cannot wait to get the next two. Combining him for the first time, like Devastator looks good. I have like one minor complaint with him, which hopefully the third-party companies will address. But all right, let's get these guys into robot mode. And here's Hook in robot mode. In this mode, he gets a lot more purple. Definitely has the nice color breakup that that Scrapper had. Could have used a little bit more in the chest. And let's talk about that chest. That chest is one of my issues with this character, with this figure. I think that Hasbro absolutely could have done a better job hiding that connector tab. But this is what we got. And if you're getting the Constructicon, if you're getting a Constructicon, you're getting all 6 Constructicons, and you're most likely going to be displaying him as a Devastator the vast majority of the time. That being said, they could have raised his elbow joint a little bit so the joint is actually this pin, but this double joint makes it so it's not as disproportional. It's got a head swivel. You can pop his collar to be able to go all the way around. Unfortunately, you can't have him in robot mode or in vehicle mode and have his head turned backwards. He will always have visible head syndrome in his vehicle mode, but 2 visible head syndromes, because yeah, underneath his head's just sticking out. Thighs could have gotten a little bit of silver on it to make it more cohesive, but the fact that they gave you gray legs as well makes it work a little bit better. He does have one of the biggest I would say the biggest backpack of the team, but you can take the hook off if you want. It is show accurate to have it on, and it does give you extra stability. Now looking at long haul, that is a beefy boy. His blaster comes in 2 parts, so some assembly required. This peg has a little tab on the bottom, so it's not perfectly round. So there's only one way to put it in, and you can't have him hold it like a Saints Row melee weapon in the other hand. So it can only be used right there. Color scheme stays pretty consistent from the vehicle mode. His actual torso is in 2 pieces. You got this piece right here that's all the way down. It's all purple painted with this green paint spot, and then another piece, a cod piece. This is one of the issues I have with this figure. This could have easily been 2 pieces. This one right here, and all of right here as separate 2 separate pieces, so that he could have a waist swivel. So right now, he has no waist swivel. Not one of the Constructicons so far have a waist swivel. And 2 of the ones, I understand why. One of them has it, but can't use it because of bad design. He should have had it with either the swivel at this point right here or this point right here. Either one would have worked. Does have double joint knees, but yeah, back to the waist swivel. Like, I would have rather had that waist swivel than all that engine design. That's a nice little touch, but I could have lived without it. They could have engineered this head to make it so that you don't have to open this up. So that you could have had waist swivel. Like, he should have had a waist swivel. There's no reason why other than bad design. I'm gonna like, now maybe they did try to get in there and it just didn't work. It didn't work in the price point. It didn't work, or it like compromised the stability of the combined mode. I didn't see like how that would have worked, how that would have happened, because like all this gets locked up in combined mode. But yeah, he should have had a waist swivel. I would have also liked it if these would have like either folded back, fill this area in, or folded forward, so that, because they just look weird sitting out that much. But if I had to choose between that and waist swivel, I would have chosen waist swivel. Not much hollowness on him though. A little bit in the arms. Nice head sculpt. The head sculpts all have been like really good, really paying homage to the original Constructicon heads. Hook back. And then, this is not official, but you can turn the extra pieces into some semblance of a base mode. Yeah, you still got the hitch just sticking out there. Like it's designed so it can't turn one way or the other or split. But yeah. So you can fan mode your base mode so that you have something to do with this when they're in robot mode. But let's be honest, they're not going to be in robot mode very often. And if you want me to walk through how I did this, let me know in the comments and I will put out a video showing that. Let's get the other two in here so we can see how they all stack up next to each other. All right, here's the whole team so far. They all look really good together. They all look like Bruiser construction workers. They all look cohesive as a team. And again, I cannot wait to get Mixmaster and Scavenger so that I can have the full Devastator, because this boy is going to be big. Not Combiner Wars Titan scale big, but definitely big. I stacked him up next to my Menasor with the DNA kit, which gives him some height with the shoes and the thigh extensions, and they're basically the same height, which means that once DNA gets their hands on this and gives their upgrade kits, he's going to become even taller. Set these to a side. And I do like how they worked these missile pods for the fists. Got a 5mm peg on the bottom, which is the back of the hand. So you just push in and then flip them out. They come in 2 pieces. With, there you go. They come like this. Obviously you want this to be the outside for when it's in missile pod mode, so just flip that around, peg in the hand. There's a peg inside to connect it to the arms. But yeah, you just flip it around. Works really good. So 1 point of articulation on the fingers. Don't really do anything because you got port right there for the gun. Downstairs chest comes in 3 pieces. Do that backwards. The ratchets are on that joint nice and stiff. Outside, going out, they're tight, but no ratchets. Took me a little bit looking at the instructions just to figure out exactly how Long Haul's arms go in combined mode. The images were not the most clear on where the actual transformation was. I had to look at other images on next in the steps surrounding it to figure exactly how, but want the fists folded forwards, this tab sticking out, this tab sticking up. My biggest issue with the combined mode so far is hook. 'Cause, 'cause hook. 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 some things I wish that Hasbro had done to make the combined mode look a little bit more cohesive. I hope that the third-party companies will fix those mistakes. They shouldn't have to. They should not have to fix the mistakes. They should just add in to what is there that works, and that Hasbro had to cut out because it didn't fit in the budget or the theme. Something optional, but not necessary. Kind of like the Megatron arm for DNA's upgrade kit for 86 Prime. Cool little addition, not necessary. Didn't fit in the theme of Hasbro's release. All right. So you want the chest port down, you want this fist down, and you want the two arm tabs out. Oh yeah, I forgot to peg that in. So, as you can see, right there would have been where the, actually, right in there would have been where Long Haul's waist swivel would have been. That is completely locked in place. There's no moving that. It would not have affected the integrity of the combined mode. Hook, his transformation, what he needs to do to become this, a waist swivel, could happen, would not have been the best use of resources, and would have definitely compromised one mode of the figure, if nothing else. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 connections right here that you have to get lined up. Now you're going to plug the chest on there, on here, and then these sides will go into the arms. I'll save that for when we do the full Devastator review. There we go. And here we go. Here we come to my gripe about hook. Let me raise my camera up a bit. All right. That giant gaping hole in his chest. Like, I don't understand why they couldn't have manufactured any panel to cover that in some way. There are others, like right here, that a panel could have flipped out for that. But right there, right where Hook's head goes, panel to cover that would have made so much of a difference. Everything else looks fine. The backpack even, like, doesn't really bother me. Not perfect, but everything is solid and stable, and that's what you want. But yeah, just that hole right there, and maybe right this one, because it's green underneath, it's not as noticeable, but this big black hole, definitely an eyesore. Nice strong ratchets on the hips, almost a full split, and unlike the rest of the team, he does have a waist swivel. A little bit impeded, so it's not full around by the backpack, but apparently there are ways around that. And there is, like, you can use all of the vehicle weapon storage for the weapon storage here. And actually the instructions show putting all of their weapons back here, pointed back as like extra protection. So he can watch his own back, as it were. Now the gun. Does not hold in his hands very well. It is very loose. Haven't tried the other hand. Slightly better, but not really. Yeah, that was a bit of a disappointment that the hands don't really hold his gun very well. Now it's time to address the elephants in the room. First off, price points. I know a lot of people are upset that this was a 2-pack Commander. I know a lot of people are upset that we have a Deluxe, a Voyager. These are all roughly the same size. Price point does not equate size. They correlate, but they are not the same. What determines the price points? Several factors. There's parts count, there's deco, there's engineering, there's plastic quality. Those are the big ones. I'm sure there are more. I don't work in the industry. I just am going by what I see. The engineering differences between these two are massive. This is a brick that turns into a brick. Like, he can move his arms and legs. This is a rolling vehicle with a articulated front-loading bucket that turns into an articulated robot that turns into an articulated leg. Brick arm, articulation. And this should be a deluxe, except for the teapot joint. That joint is as tight as the hip joints on the combined mode. The engineering that goes into this is superior to the engineering that goes into this. The plastic quality that goes into that joint is better than the plastic quality that goes into the shoulder joint on this one. That's probably the best plastic in the entire robot on that joint. That's why I couldn't have a waist swivel. Yeah, I'm sure you could have engineered a waist swivel in there, though. But it would be a point of weakness on the figure that would cause it to fail. And then you'd have two halves of a figure that couldn't do anything. Or it would have to be so reinforced that you would have to lose out on other articulation or other deco, or use worse plastic in other places. It's a balancing act trying to get all those together to make a figure that the majority would find worth the price. Now, the other elephant in the room, this guy. I see a lot of comments on people not liking the trailer as part of the combined mode. They should all just be able to form together. This right here is more in line and more accurate to the source. The original Devastator was a parts former. Like, all combiners are parts formers by definition. The original Devastator had several parts that were needed to just put him together. Not just have hands and feet like the Scramble City combiners, but the head was a separate piece. The waist and thighs were a separate piece. The chest that held everything, like all the pieces that held him together, were separate pieces. Plus the forearms and hands were separate pieces. This just takes it so that it can be used in vehicle mode, and that when they're in robot mode, the extra pieces are all in a nice, tight, secure location so that you're not losing them, because not this one, but the original, if you lost him, you couldn't combine them. This one you can combine him, he just doesn't look nearly as good, except for like the waist and thighs. But This is just a smaller version that needs more parts. And it's essentially the same. As this. This is a commander that the vast majority love. That the truck and trailer combined together to make one big robot. You got your truck, you got your trailer. Yes, you need 5 other robots to make the complete combined robot, but this is absolutely worth the Commander class price point. This ticks off all the boxes. It is exactly what it needs to be. This is an updated version of the G1 Devastator, and if you are at all a fan of the character, this is an absolute buy. And the fact that we're getting it all in 1 year instead of like trickled out like Motormaster was, or in the character, like I haven't seen. I just got this today in the mail. I just got Long Haul and Hook today in the mail. I've seen these two in the stores. I actually pre-ordered these two, saw them each in the stores, bought them, and canceled my pre-orders because they came out in the stores, and I still see them in the stores. More Bone Crusher than Scrapper, but still. I'm sure I'm going to be. I don't really see Commanders in the stores very often, but I would not be surprised if I do see them in the store. I'll probably see. I've got Mixmaster and Scavenger pre-ordered. I'll probably see them in the stores before I get my pre-order. Hasbro is doing right with these. They are working within the constraints that they have. Yes, there are some things that I think that they could have done better. His chest, waist swivel, or usable waist swivel. He could have a waist swivel, but that would require much different engineering. The Devastator head would need to be a separate piece, and he'd probably just need to split in half like drag strip. I don't think that would work as well. He absolutely should not have a waist swivel. It would compromise the figure too much. This is an absolute great way to do the pieces you need to make the combination without sacrificing the figures, the individual figures. So this has been Studio Series Commander Class, or Studio Series 86 Commander Class, Hook and Long Haul with trailer. This is Nice Cream, signing out.